Here we are. All right. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm incredibly humbled to be here and to have this opportunity to be able to express myself with self-awareness. Before we dive into the speech, I want to clarify a few things. You may be thinking, this guy is 22. What would he know about self-awareness? Everything that I talk about today comes from my experience and the perspective that I've gained through the tough situations in my life and the lessons that I've learned about myself. Through this, I understand that everyone has a different pivotal point, but we will discuss this concept later on. What I will be talking about is mine. Secondly, I want to make it absolutely clear that I'm not telling you how to live your life or how to make decisions. All that I hope to do is to provide a different perspective on an age-old issue. A perspective that you could draw on and act upon, or one that you could simply not. Whatever you do, I leave to you. With that being said, I will be discussing some of the key points and theories that I've envisioned and come across in my short 22 years of life, and how they have pushed me towards living a life of positivity and appreciating the good and the bad alike. So for now, let's take a dive back to where it all started. Who am I? This question has always had the same answer. I'm a child. Now, as a child, I was always instinctively positive, even in situations that I didn't like, or those that were hard to handle. I always looked at life with a glass half full attitude. Now, over the years, as I went through the various stages of my life, and the inevitable pain that comes along with it, I started losing sight of the child that I was. And with that, the glass half full attitude. It is only diving into my past and memories, and retrospectively thinking about how I reacted to certain situations, that I could have applied a different approach to how I lived, and an understanding to why I approached life that way. I've come to understand the ability to look at situations as binary, not as something that needs changing, but something that just is. This was my first unconscious encounter with my own self-awareness. Because for me, I wasn't consciously approaching life with this attitude. It was just how I did things. Before I mention the phrase pivotal point, let's expand on that. My pivotal point was my life coming to a point of insanity. Insanity in this respect, meaning to expect a different result despite doing the same action over and over again. Eventually, it got to a point in my life where I wanted all of these different things and outcomes. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be a great brother. I wanted to have a successful career. But I was overwhelmed with the pressure that I was putting on myself to have all of these things. Until I realized all of the things that I thought I wanted, all of the things that I thought were expected of me, didn't matter. Now, after this realization, I asked myself the big questions in life, like, who do I want to be? And what do I want to do? Because it's when I ask that question, I give myself the ability to choose how to react, rather than to impulsively react. Self-awareness is only the pivotal point here. It is the iceberg. It is the tip of the iceberg, and it is when you dive under the water that you can see the variables that contribute to self-awareness. And if you're able to identify that there's so much more to the picture than meets the eye, and having self-awareness is no more than a platform to gain more control. John Mayer explains this nicely in the book of Emotional Intelligence, where he states, self-awareness in both, meaning about our thoughts about that mood, and being aware of that mood. So in short, both the tip of the iceberg and the stuff under the water. And in the words of my friend Kate, be one with the iceberg. So we've identified what self-awareness is, and we've identified its importance. So where do we go from here? This brings us to how we let the external environment dictate our internal well-being and how we react. To display this, I will be using an analogy of how effective business is run. So, all businesses throughout the world have one thing in common: adaptability and flexibility towards the external environment. So, when an external environment changes, a business is forced to react and adapt. Otherwise, they risk to becoming obsolete. This need for adaptation and flexibility can just as effectively be applied to life. As if we let external things control how we feel, and therefore how we react, then we are being controlled. You're not the captain of your own ship in this situation, meaning that you're living a life in which you are a passenger rather than the driver. However, if you can reach that pivotal point in which you realize that it doesn't matter, then you are able to ask yourself and overcome challenges and hopefully regain control over your emotions. Emotions are powerful. They have the ability to influence and taint actions, which will in turn meddle with your ability to achieve your goals. They are variable. They produce the highest of highs and the overwhelming lows. They make you human. To this, I apply one theory. I understand that I feel bad, diminished, and unconfident. I acknowledge these feelings, and with that acknowledgement, I accept everything that I am, and that I am what I feel. Now, once I've done this, I've allowed myself to implement new thoughts and actions into the reaction of the emotions. This is the most hardest part of self-awareness, as emotions make us vulnerable, and when we're vulnerable, we are more open to influence. Therefore, not in the best control over our decisions. But if you are able to overcome that challenge and realize that emotions make you feel, you're able to overcome and take back control in your life. Applying this theory has allowed for the capacity to not take life too seriously, whilst maintaining a balance between purpose and emotion, therefore regaining balance in my life. So everything that I've talked about today can be boiled down to one simple thought. Everything is a process. The journey to self-awareness is just one of the big processes within the grand scheme of my life. And it is the steps and theories that I've talked about that were and are elements of my process. But that doesn't mean they will be elements of yours. When new challenges arise in our life, they bring with them different emotions and issues. Therefore, we may not always know how to tackle them. But if we have the basis of a process, then we know as much as we can. Continually tweaking these steps follows the natural evolution in the natural world that it is constantly changing. Change with it. Let your emotions be flexible. Let them develop. Let yourself be human. It might seem like you're giving into your emotions, but you're not. You're trusting the process. And with that, you're taking back control over your life. It is not about the substance. It's about the process itself. So thank you for giving me your time and attention. And I'm honored to be here and hopefully, positively, influence something bigger than me. Cheers.